Hi, I'm Tim and welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at this, the Reolink Duo 3V PoE security camera. Now the 3V means it's also vandal proof. So not only is it vandal proof, it's also dual lens and person tracking. So let's get this unboxed and take a closer look right now. So here we are with the box. So let's open the box up and take a look at all the things inside right now. So here we are with everything what's included in the box. We have this Cat5e Ethernet cable, which I believe is 1/2 meter long. We have this, which is the cover that goes on the end of the cable, where you thread the Ethernet cable through into the connector here on the camera, and then we have a rubber O-ring, a foam, and we also have another connector as well which goes on the end of this. And I'll show you this, by the way, in another video. I've also shown you this being used in previous Reolink videos, but I will show you this in a future video where we'll hopefully get to film me using all this and setting it up outside and installing it. So that's what these connectors are for, to go on the end of those where you thread the Ethernet cable through. We also have a packet of fixing screws, so you get the screws, the wall plugs, you also get an Allen key, and here we have a little key as well inside the bag with a small pin at the end of it, which is used to factory reset the device using the recessed pinhole on the actual camera itself here. We also have the usual booklet, and inside the booklet we have assembly instructions, we have declaration of conformity, we also have the operational instruction booklet, and we also have some other important safety instructions. We have a UK PSTI statement of compliance. We also have some Reolink 24/7 video surveillance stickers which you can use to stick on your windows of your property should you so wish. We also have a nice cleaning cloth which I've not seen before in cameras which I've previously reviewed. So this is a lint-free cleaning cloth. We also have the usual little leaflet with warm tips on it, and then we also have the fixing template or mounting template, whichever you like to refer to it as. So just to take a closer look at that, you'll obviously see the 3 markers there where it designates where the screw holes should be to fix the camera to the wall or ceiling, whichever you prefer. And then on to the camera itself. As you can see, this has got a plastic cover over the lens, so I'll just peel this back just to show you closer up. Now it's a dual lens, so it has one lens here and one lens there, so it's a dome camera, and it's also vandal proof. So all this is actually vandal proof. So this is perspex, by the way. It does appear to be quite thick perspex for the lens, and all of the actual housing around the lens is actually solid metal, so it does have a bit of weight to it. It feels very solid indeed, so I doubt it could be easily vandalized. There's also 3 screw holes there which you would use the Allen key for, which I mentioned was in the little plastic packet. So these are Allen key screws, so they're not easily accessible. So if they wanted to try a standard screwdriver in these screws, it wouldn't work because you would need the actual Allen key. So I'll just put the cover back over the lens for the time being until it's actually installed, and then what we'll do is peel the plastic cover off. So as I've said, this has a bit of weight to it. So it's all solid metal on the outer casing. And at the side we have a 2-way speaker. And we also have the Reolink label with a QR code on it, serial number and the product name, which is an IP camera model Reolink Duo 3V PoE. It also has an item number and the username as admin, and also the power requirements, which is DC 12 volt PoE 802.3 AF. So it's actually PoE, so it doesn't require PoE plus or PoE++, it will just work on the standard PoE 802.3 AF. Then up next to this label we have a micro SD card slot where you can insert a up to 256 gigabyte micro SD card. So this is under a cover which is covered over by 2 screws, and also under this cover is the reset button should you wish to factory reset it. Now moving around, there's also a small hole here which is for the microphone, and then next to that we have the Reolink logo on there. On the base we have another recess there. I'm not sure what that cover is actually for, but I suspect it's probably to get inside the mounting for the lens or something like that, or the actual speaker, as the speaker grill is actually showing there next to the cover here. And also on the base we have the cable coming out of it, and also next to the cable outlet there's also a rubber grommet there where you would push the cable through like so that you can mount it flush to a ceiling or a wall. So there's a recess there for the cable outlet. So then looking at the cable itself, we have 2 connections at the end here, and one, if we unscrew it and release it, is for the power over Ethernet connection. So that's the network connection. It's a standard RJ45 connection. And then next to that we also have a power inlet, so you don't always have to use PoE. You can use this cable just for network, and then this can be used to DC power it should you so wish. And I believe that's a 3.5mm standard DIN plug there for the power. And as I said, it requires 12 volts DC. So for the specs of this camera, it has a microphone, which I showed you is that tiny little hole there next to the Reolink logo. And then inside the lens here we also have spotlights. So there's spotlights around 2 of the lenses, so there are actually 3 spotlights around the lens. And also in there are infrared LEDs, so along with the 3 marks there for the spotlights, there's also infrared LEDs. And also in there's actually a daylight sensor. If you can see that there through the lens, there's actually a daylight sensor. Then of course, as I've said, we have the micro SD card slot with the reset button, and then here, as I've said, is the speaker. So there is 2-way communication with this camera. It has dual lens, which I've said is there and there, so it is actually motorized as well, so it has person tracking as well. So for the image sensors, they are 1/2.8 inch CMOS sensors. The maximum resolution for this is 7680 by 2160, and that's at 16 megapixels and at 20 frames per second. The lens is an f2.8mm and an f1.6. For the video compression, the mainstream is H.265 video compression, and for the substreams it's H.264. Now there isn't any zoom with this. The field of view is for horizontally 180 degrees or vertically 53 degrees. It has infrared night vision, which can cope with distances up to 30 meters, and for the LEDs there's 6 LED pieces, and which auto switches between the IR cut filter. With the colour night vision, so it does have full colour night vision on this. It can go up to 1.6 watts for the colour night vision, which is rated at 4500K, which is 540 to 840 lumens for the illumination. The frame rate for the mainstream is between 2 frames per second and 20 frames per second. The default is 20. And for the substream, it's between 4 frames per second and 20 frames per second, with 20 frames per second being the default. For the code rate, or the bit rate, so for the mainstream, it's between 3072 and 12,288 kilobits per second. So the default is 10,240 kilobits per second, which equates to around 10 megabits per second for the code rate. For the substream, it's up between 128 and 2048 kilobits per second. The default is 1024 kilobits per second. So it does have two-way audio on it, as I've said. For the power requirements, it's IEEE 802.3 AF, which is PoE, not PoE plus or plus plus, but just standard PoE, and it's 48 volt active power. You can also power it, as I've said, by the DC connection here instead of using the PoE connection here. So you would actually need to have two cables going into it if you were powering it by DC. So you'd have this for the network connection and then this one for the DC power, which is rated at 12 volts and up to 12 watts. The Ethernet port is rated at 10 megabits per second or 100 megabits per second. It supports a maximum of 256 gigabytes for the micro SD card, and for the browser support, it can support Edge, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, so the usual standard web browsers. The operating systems, it supports Windows, Mac OS, smartphone, iOS and Android. For the protocols, it supports the usual standard protocols with the Reolink cameras, which is HTTPS, SSL, TCP, UDP, IPv4, UPnP, RTSP, DHCP, DNS, DDNS, FTP and P2P. And it also supports, I believe, OnVIF, so you can actually incorporate this into other applications, such as, for example, Home Assistant. So in another video, I will actually show you it being added to Home Assistant along with my other Reolink cameras. So for the smart alarm, it has person detection, motion detection, vehicle detection, and also animal detection. So for the recording modes, it can be motion triggered recording, which is default, or you can have scheduled recording or continuous 24/7 recording. But of course, if you're using the micro SD card slot, I wouldn't recommend having 24/7 recording, because it would just quickly fill up the SD card. So you're better off having it motion triggered recording, which is what it is by default. It also supports time lapse, and for smart home compatibility, it supports Google Assistant and also, I believe, Home Assistant. So I'll show you it being incorporated into Home Assistant in another video. So that is the Reolink Duo 3V PoE Vandal proof dual lens person tracking PoE security camera. So this looks like a good camera, actually built really nicely, and I believe that Reolink are having a sale on in January between the 6th and the 12th. So if you're watching this between the 6th and the 12th of January 2025, you might want to have a look at the links which I put in the video description down below, and you might find some discounts as well. So just click on the links in the video description below. I put one for US, one for Canada, one for UK and one for Europe in there, so just have a look for your region. So just to confirm, this was sent to me free of charge by Reolink to show you their new Reolink Duo 3V PoE security camera. So thanks to Reolink for sending this. And that's it for this video. So keep a lookout, as I'll more than likely do some more videos on this camera where I'll show you it being installed or having already been installed, and also we'll try and get it adopted into Home Assistant, and we'll also add it into the Reolink app. So thanks for watching, take care, and hope you like this video, and more videos coming soon. So bye for now.